All right. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Homebrew, brought to you by our company called New Home. We are a Boston-based real estate tech company focused on improving the home buying process. We make home buying more affordable, simple, and far more convenient than any traditional agent. And we do so in a sort of on-demand way.
Yeah. So how you doing, Rishi?
I'm doing great, Afjal. How are you?
I'm good. We're in the new space today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we?
We're actually at Staples Connect. So they have a podcast studio, and we're taking advantage.
Yeah, we're in Somerville.
Yeah,
we're in Somerville. Yeah.
All right. So today we're going to talk about something interesting. 5 quirks to watch out for as a home buyer.
That's right. Buying a home is not like buying most things you might buy day to day.
So yeah, I completely agree. I think, buying a home is not the same as stuff that you buy day to day, but it's a very important purchase in your life. It happens, a few times, maybe in your lifetime. But we're going to talk about 5 things that, home buyers should be aware of, and it's really to set the right expectations as you kind of start your journey to buy a home.
Yeah, and some of these things they're kind of on the macro surface level, right? They're not, super like micro, like, if you're buying new construction, you need to know these 5 things. But these are maybe known things, but not so obvious, I guess is how I'd put it.
Yeah, I think overall it's like not every home buying journey is the same. Not every home is the same. Not every seller is the same. Not every buyer is the same.
That's right.
But people buy and sell homes every single day. I think there's about 17,000 homes that are sold and bought in the U.S. every day.
That's right. And so to that point, if you think about sort of our number one quirk, it's about how the sellers that you're working with today, as we know it, are not companies. They are individuals, right? And every individual is different.
Right.
And, every seller has a different rationale for what they're willing to accept or not accept, or how they're willing to work with you in a transaction, right? There's some people that are just inherently tough.
Yeah.
And then there's some that are like, hey, I want to sell this home and buy a different one and kind of move on.
I think in that situation, I think there's just heightened emotions, right?
Right.
From the seller side and the buyer side. And they both have different expectations, and kind of meeting halfway and trying to make that transaction happen smoothly. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's really tough.
Yeah. And there's no real set expectation, right? Like, as we said, every seller is different. And so it's not like buying from a company where, if you check out on Amazon, what you bought more often than not, when you're going to get it, and what you paid for. Right. Or like McDonald's, when you drive through, you're going to get the same burger or the same French fries that you got, a week ago. Like,
right.
Every seller is different. And so, there's just something to keep in mind, not to get caught up in, all of the reasoning as to why a seller is selling, or all the seller particular sort of decisions that have been made along the way. But really the way that we say to sort of win in this weird quirk as a home buyer is, stick to your goals, stick to your needs and wants. When you find a home that is a fit for you, make decisions based on what you value. Don't let, what the seller might be saying or doing really impede, on your approach. Put your best foot forward, and, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Right.
And just kind of move on.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the other thing that I really hate about real estate is it's Opec, right? It's the information is not readily available, or it's limited, right? So one of the things that, once you make an offer, you're literally just sending this offer into a black box, and you're waiting for a response from the seller and your agent. A lot of times I hear the buyers say, okay, what are the other offers?
Yeah.
Right. Or, why was my offer rejected, right? So this information is not, available to the buyer, which is very frustrating.
Yeah, right. So there's things known as like silent auctions and public auctions, and
Right.
and in a public auction, you're up there and the guy is like running, number one, and I can't do it very well, but like they're yelling out pricing, and you're seeing people raise their hand. That's known as a public auction, where people can see what other people are doing and make decisions based on that.
Right.
Whereas a silent auction is, I'm going to take this envelope, I'm going to put it in a box, and everyone else is going to do the same thing. And you don't know what you're competing against. And that's effectively how real estate is bought today. At New Home, we want to improve that experience, and we've got some great ideas as to how to. But as it stands, you're kind of competing in darkness.
Yep.
It's definitely not a fun feeling. But again, kind of like number one, what we just spoke about, as to how every seller is different, and like sort of trying to make an offer based on what you believe in. It's the same thing here. We can value the real estate, get a pricing analysis. You can do due diligence on the home, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to value the home the way you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Some homes for some people, because some people bid more than others. It's not all based entirely on what they call comparables, what other homes are sold for nearby. A lot of it is also based on emotion. And if you found that, 3,000 square foot, 2-car garage home on this street that you've wanted to live on, or you want to live on so badly for whatever number of reasons you have, you may value that home more than the next person. And so all, we can do is advise you on what we think it's valued. But it's up to you as a buyer to say, hey, I want it more than the next person, if that's the case. But put your best foot forward and know that once you've done that, if you didn't win, you tried.
Yeah, I think ultimately, if you're given the right information at the right times, you can make a better decision.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just not the way it is today. I wish that was the case, and I think we'll get there with improving it. But for today, you have to kind of work within what you know and what you believe.
Right.
Then it is an investment, and so like any investment, there's risk. Other people can beat out other people, and if you're buying a company, for example, and you don't know what they're offering, but it's very similar with real estate. But the best thing is to stick to your guns. There's an affordability budget that you have. Don't go beyond that. And then there's, a percentage of this is how much you value it.
Absolutely. So the other thing is, timing is everything, right? Yep. No home, journey is the same, as we've said. Buyers can be looking for a very long time and not find a home for a very long time. And certain buyers can be looking for a few days, and they found the home, they submit the offer, and they get it accepted. They're closing.
That's right. Yeah, there's no right amount of time, right? Some people who feel like they need to see 20 homes or 10 homes before they make a decision. And there's some we've sold to or helped buy, that they've seen the one and only home, and that's the one that they made a bid on. That's the one they got an accepted offer on. That's the one they live in today. And so, but timing is everything. And I'll take that one step further, is like, when you do see that home that you take interest in, it's important to take a step forward, take an action. Either go tour it because you found it online, or because you've seen it, you want to buy it, make an offer. And that's really the only way you know whether a seller is willing to cooperate and sell to you or not. Mm-hmm. Before that, everyone can just sort of ideate as to whether they could buy it, whether they're going to be successful, whether their offer is going to be accepted. Because you might see that home on a Monday and decide, hey, I'm going to wait a couple of days, and by Wednesday someone else has bought it. Now, that can happen the other way around too, right? You could see a home, in January, and you think it's overpriced, and 2 months later it could finally drop in price. So it's really up to you as to how much you want to battle sort of the timing approach on things. You could also if you feel like something's overpriced, you can try to make an offer at some point and show interest. And even if it's not accepted, it doesn't mean that, a seller couldn't come back to you a later time.
So you're saying, if I like a home, I should make an offer, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll just give you one more example for that one is like we had a person make an offer on a home that was on the market for a little while. It was a condo in Inman Square. And she saw it, when it was on the market, went to an open house, liked it, but her and her boyfriend wanted to take some time to think about it, maybe look at other homes. It actually sat on the market. The seller was being really rigid on price. I think it was roughly $800K. And 2-bed, rooftop access, right in Inman, updated and things. And it went off the market because he was considering renting it out to somebody or selling it in the fall. This was midsummer. And so she came back to us after it had gone off the market, and she was like, "Hey, I don't see it anymore. I was wondering if it's still available. Did it get bought?" And we were like, "No, it's what's called withdrawn." And that just means that it's off the market. It's not necessarily actively being sold, but there was a clear interest in that seller wanting to sell. So long story short, we ended up going back and making an offer on that home while it was off market. And it was a really good offer. It was actually $800K. And we were surprised that the seller didn't take it, but they wanted to wait till the fall. But had she made that offer earlier in the game, in the summer when it was on the market, I think she could have absolutely gotten it because that was the price that he wanted. And so yeah, timing is a weird thing. It can play, in all kinds of directions. Things can come back on the market if they're once accepted. It's just good to keep your eyes peeled and take action when you're ready.
That's crazy. So the buyer went back after some time because they were very interested in that home, made an offer that was on a home that was off market now, and was not able to take the next step.
Yeah, I mean, it was a perfect offer. It's really weird. They even said yeah, your buyer would be perfect. She was putting down almost 30%, I want to say. She was giving full asking price. And there was obviously no competition because it was off market, or very likely. And they just didn't want to move forward at that time. So the seller just was in a place where he wasn't ready to sell it at that moment. I think there was some emotional attachment as well. But the buyer, I think from the time that she went to the open house to when she actually made an offer was maybe 60 to 90 days or something like that. I don't know exactly. But had she done that, at day 30, when it was still on the market, maybe, I think we would have been successful, but you just don't know.
You just don't know until you try.
Yeah, exactly.
So are we in a seller's market? What's the market like right now?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. So all the headlines read seller's market or read, red hot market. It's a really weird thing to yell out, but there's a few reasons as to why we are where we are. And the biggest is the fact that, most people aren't selling their home, and it's creating upward pressure on price because at the same time, there's a new level of demand from people our age, the millennial group, and also because of the fact that interest rates are so low. And so price is high in general, everywhere. Right. But I would say that in real estate, in every market, it's not that a seller's market has to be everywhere, right? It's our recommendation that you should not take a sort of a peanut butter spread approach on a headline and say all of Boston is a seller's market. There's always opportunities in real estate, and you can find them.
Right.
Some sellers need to sell tomorrow because they're in a pinch, and that might create an opportunity for you as a buyer if you're the right fit. Right there, that means that seller has less buyers that they can work with, which means it's not a seller's market in that particular situation.
So, a smart buyer would be looking at places or areas or even property types that most buyers are not looking.
Yep.
Right. So you would say, was it a seller's market for all like condos, single families, and multifamily, or any, particular property type was a buyer's market?
Yeah, exactly. So, the headlines along with red hot real estate was also like, hey, everyone is, going to, the woods or going to the burbs. And that's true. So it was definitely a seller's market for single families in Boston, suburbs, one or two towns away from the city, where you could get, a white picket fence, single family with a yard with some privacy. People were fearful of COVID and they wanted more space, and people weren't going to offices anymore. Work from home became very, very prevalent. So the seller's market was and still is single families, newer construction, especially, or move-in ready homes in these towns, neighboring Boston. But what we learned was that condos were sitting on the market in Boston. Pricing was dipping. Days on market was increasing. Our stat is something like in 2019, 4,376 Boston condos were sold for an average of $920K. But in 2020, during the pandemic and when that started, that dipped to 4,156 condos and with an 11% decrease in price, $826K. So like, everyone's talked about how, Boston is expensive, is going to keep going up, up, and up. But while people are talking about a seller's market, the condo market in Boston had gone down. And so it's just important to know the market that you're in.
Right.
And if you're looking at condos in Boston, then understand what's going on in that space.
That's a good point. But there is competition, and competition is real. So how do you kind of compete in a very competitive market?
Absolutely. And that's the fifth quirk here is that, again, like we've said, there's only really one of each piece of real estate. It's not like another thing coming off an assembly line, or another thing you order on Amazon, right? There's only one of that home. And so, when there is a home that you love and you really want, it's important to put your best foot forward. And you might hear that from agents. You might hear that from, people in the industry. And you might take that as, oh, they're just telling me to increase my price for no reason. But the truth is competition is real. In this market, we've seen people drop, all contingencies, financing, appraisal, inspection. They work with whatever the seller wants, because when people really want that thing, they fight for it.
Sure.
And it's important to not take things like an asking price and how much the number is going over the asking price as like fuel in your mind for holding back on putting in a really competitive bid. Because at the end of the day, if you think about asking price, right, we wrote a whole article about this on our site, is that asking price is really just the number that the seller and seller agent have come up with to incentivize you as a buyer to come in and for eyeballs to be looked at the house. If you see a home in Cambridge, a single family home on the market for like $600K, everyone is going to go look at it because it's unheard of, right? Sure. So people, especially during the pandemic market, artificially lowered price and just let the market decide. So then you ask, well, why am I going $100K over asking price? Well, the asking price was artificially low to begin with. You have to be comparing yourself with what the market is willing to pay for that home, not what the asking price is, because that's going to get blown out of the water.
Yeah, and you should never overpay, right? If it doesn't fit your budget, we recommend don't.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we give you a whole pricing analysis, custom pricing analysis on any home that you're interested in, and we show you what the market's been willing to pay. And if that's in your budget and that's something you want to try to make a bid for, then we let you. I mean, even if it's something you want to go in at a lower bid, higher bid, or at our guidance bid, that's up to you.
Right.
We just try to give you the information so you're prepared.
Hey, these are amazing and helpful tips for every home buyer. We actually wrote a blog about this, so if you want more details, go check it out on newhome.co. And if you like the content, like us and follow us.
Absolutely. So just to summarize real quick, number one, Quirk is you're buying from an individual, not a company.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is that offers in real estate are made silently, not publicly. And that's the way it is today, at least. Number three, timing is everything. Take an action when you're ready to, but do so if you are. Mm-hmm. Number four is know the market that you're trying to buy in, specifically on that micro level. And number five, know that competition is real and it can come out of the woodwork, really at any time.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rishi.
Thank you, Afjal. Good to talk to everybody, and hope this is helpful.